Here's a huge square. I think it's bigger than the market town square. Oh, sorry, the Old Town Market Square. But on that platform there is where John Paul II gave mass when he became Pope. Hence, there's a cross here to commemorate that event. And there are pictures which show that this entire square is covered with people. It's kind of ridiculous. And of course now it's empty, and I'm not sure what kind of events they would still hold here. I don't even know if they still hold any events here. But yeah, this square was completely packed for that mass, and here's a sort of short exhibition showing that mass. And it's pretty crazy, I think, what the communists did to prevent people from coming to this mass. You know, they had police block off streets. I think they also shut down public transport. Maybe that was in Krakow and not here. Well, they probably did it here too. Just to get people not to come. But still, and it was not broadcasted that John Paul II was going to give mass. But like, right here. Look at that. All those people. That's right here in this square, which is absolutely empty right now. There's a recording. I imagine that's his mass, which of course I do not understand. You know, if there's one thing the communists were good at building, it's squares, because it's of course low budget and doesn't really require much skill. You just need to tile the floors, unlike many of the buildings which are absolute failures, really. Here is the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, I believe. That's what's called, yeah. And the plaques there are dates of, I believe, all the major wars and battles that Poland has been involved in. So in the plaque in the back I see that it starts at like the year 972. And of course it goes all the way to 1945, to the Second World War and stuff. And here's some stuff. Okay, here's Russian, Spanish, German, French, English. Okay, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, that's what it is. Witness the bravery and dedication of all Polish soldiers who died in the service of their country. Yep. Liberated from German occupation, the tomb was restored according to this guy's plan. So this square is pretty important, really. All right. You know, let's walk along the park. In the U.S. Education system, what we learn about the Iron Curtain is, of course, it's impenetrable. Life here sucked. And at some point in 1989, you know, the wall came down, Soviet Union collapsed, and all of communism, you know, were liberated. And of course the sense is that if you say anything bad about the government or whatever, you get sent to the gulags out in Siberia or whatever. But and that's the image of 45 years of history, I think. But that's my image. And I took, you know, AP European history, which is sort of the only class in the US that dealt with European history. But before I talk some more, here's some beautiful statues. But it's really not true. Now that I've like traveled to some of these places and actually got to know some people who've, you know, lived in the former Soviet Union and the satellite states, you life, the gulags and stuff were definitely a thing when Stalin was alive, but after he died, things, sort of loosened up. And under Brezhnev, life was in some sense good. Because, at least in the Soviet Union, which Poland was not part of, Poland was just a satellite state. Under Brezhnev, people had, it was communism to its fullest. People had jobs. It didn't matter that, the shops had nothing, but they were still be a shopkeeper. But, free medicine, not free, but government subsidized medicine and all that kind of good stuff. So when some old people say that the Soviet Union was not so bad, they're probably thinking about that time, because probably most people who lived under Stalin are already dead. So the worst part of communism is not in the minds of those people. But here in Poland, it's not as though once the wall broke, all of communism fell. In Poland, communism was already sort of falling apart before that time. With solidarity, with John Paul II coming here to encourage the Polish people and all that kind of good stuff. So, of course, the ultimate reason for the decline of all these communist states was economics, but socially, it was each country in the Union or just in the satellite of the Union had their own catalysts and events that led to its downfall. And in the West, or at least in the US, the symbol is the fall of the Berlin Wall, but this was not as though once the Berlin Wall collapsed, just everything, suddenly collapsed. The collapse had already happened before then. But the story that all tour guides tell, regarding John Paul II is that he comes here, and the reason why he is so significant, well, one of the reasons, he's significant for many reasons, is that when the Polish people come, like the mass, they realize that there were lots of people who thought the same way they did. In the communist era, you were not going to go around saying that you hate the government or anything, because that's a good way to get yourself killed. But with this mass, people just looked around and they saw, millions of their neighbors. They all have the same idea they do. And that got the ball rolling in this country. And, in the Baltic states, they have the Baltic chain and sort of a similar social thing where people realized that, everyone else thought that way. Alright, so we're now exiting the park, and I'm done talking, I think. The park is like 5 minutes away from Old Town, actually. So, 5 minutes away from the previous video. And now I'm walking towards the Palace of Culture and Science. That's a great name. Palace of Culture and Science. Alright. So, yep, we're gonna see the end of the park. I pretty much walked diagonal, so this is like the longest path you could take. I think the other diagonal might be longer because the other diagonal there's more greenery and windy paths, but yeah. Anyways, that was the square and the tomb of the unknown soldier.